Okay, welcome everybody. We hope you have enjoyed this week. We're here today with me, Carola Hein, and
Paolo Di Martino. Hello.
So we were very delighted to see that many of you are still bringing back images that really convey this notion of the importance of water and the notion of a maritime mindset. This learner, for example, wrote, "We do not live in the water, but we are of it in every other way," producing this beautiful image of the sunrise on the Saguenay Cape Trinity from 1880. Now, going back to your contributions, there are several that have really intrigued us. For me, this image has, or by the same learner, these two images have two important messages. For one, in this mental map, it tells us the enormous capacity of soil to hold water. It really serves as a sponge, and that's a quality of the land that we have forgotten as we have been draining water, just trying to send water off to the sea rather than working with water. This system awareness is also visible in this map, which gives us ideas on what type of river is flowing, where we have canals, where river paths have been disconnected, showing even words about these particular types of bodies of water that are typical for the Netherlands. This kind of a water map tells us so many different stories, even in this depiction of the different wharves of places for ships. But it also raises questions about what do we need to do to maintain the system as a working system, particularly in terms of the speed of water or silting up of rivers or canals. Paula, did you want to add something on this one?
Yes, I completely agree with you, Carol, and I think these two images are really powerful image because they really show this interconnection between, all the different elements, different layers. What does it mean for a water city?
So if we move on, we had another case of this connectedness of water, seeing it here in the mental map of this, from this learner, where all these various functions, silk weaving, temples, opera, flower gardens, forts, guild houses, are all associated to the various canals and water bodies that cross the city. It becomes even more visible in this timeline where the traditional water body, which we see here as this U-form element, is cut off today, and future plans propose to bring it and reconnect it back to allow for the water to have its natural flow, and in many ways actually to create some natural system that helps us live and engage with water. Anything you want to add, Paulo?
Yes, and this is what, first of all, I really like how these maps have been compiled. So this is very clear also, how water landscape has changed over time. And it also reminds us that we always look back to the past, to the history, to see what are the permanencies, the traces. And these are very important when we then want to also plan for the future. So I think it's very clear in the way these maps have been put together.
And we've got a couple of really intriguing stakeholder maps, which are at the heart of what we do this week. When I look at this image, I'm struck particularly by this notion of the decentralized networks of horizontal organization, community and territorial autonomy, self-management, cooperation. These are terms that seem to be quite different from the main large-scale public or private water companies and water management systems that we see. They appear to be a call to give people back responsibility at the local scale. Right,
Indeed,
Paolo?
indeed, you centered the core of the question. Indeed, it's a completely different scale. Indeed, it's the scale of the community, and all the. I mean, the main argument here is really about giving this power to people that come together as one big organization to design, co-design, and co-manage. In this case, the construction of aqueducts, and it's seems to be quite an ideal condition that definitely needs also to be related somehow to a bigger scale, to see how this process can be even scaled up. Yeah.
And even taking into account local materials, local conditions, not just a system that is applicable for everyone.
Yes.
And finally, we had picked up this stakeholder map. Do you want to say something about this one, Paolo?
Yes, I think what I really like of this image, this collage, I would say, it's how all these elements come to coexist somehow. And it makes very clear that we are dealing with different layers and therefore with complexity of different landscapes, but at the same time of different uses. And this also coexistence seems to be also very conflictual sometimes, how we can have, tourists dealing also with an environment, with pollution. So all these coexistence for me are always quite intriguing, how to deal with that. And it's always an open question.
Yeah, and I also like the temporality of it. As repairs come in, the uses will change over time, a new stakeholder is added. And we should also praise the user for the smart use of these little icons, which I find really intriguing. So there's also room for discussions. Among others, we've had really intriguing notes on the social unawareness that leads to climate crisis. And in many ways, I would say that's what we are trying also to achieve with this course, to recreate, to push back towards an awareness of water as a system and the need to find bio-based, nature-based solutions for sustainable development. And I truly believe that heritage can help us in doing it. So heritage in terms of understanding the past and practices and the way historic sites were engaged with communities and cultures.
Yes, I also find discussion quite active and very intriguing. There were discussions about, what are the main stakeholders, what we also easily recognize as the main stakeholders that are the ones that make investments in the infrastructures, for example. But then also these smaller stakeholders, if we can call them that, are recognized as like local community. So there were proposals about giving more power to people that they can, in order to save the planet. So I really like this statement in the discussion, as well as putting attention on this relation between, the underground city and what happens on the top. So bring these two dimensions closer for to create some also more virtuous circles to coexist with water. And I bringing these two dimensions together, I think I also found quite inspiring. It was quite inspiring.
Yes, so keep your comments going, and we look forward to seeing you in the next week. Thanks a lot and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.